Hello, everybody, and welcome to Play Some Video Games, the only gaming podcast chock full of tryptophan to give you that nice, sleepy feeling once you finish digesting it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. We rely on you to get the word out for all of us. It is I, your host, Stone Cold Kevin Austin. With me this week is the people's champion himself, Coach Mo. How are we doing, Coach Mo?
Very well, brother.
That was very serious of you. Also with us this evening is the Heartbreak Kid himself, Nathan Thomas. How are we doing, Nate?
Heartbreak Kid? Come on now. I'm
going with the wrestling theme.
I was trying to go for Heartbreak Man.
No.
I'm a man.
No, I don't know.
I'm a man.
I don't know.
Okay.
But you know who's not a man is our special guest this evening. Over in the corner doing the billionaire strut is Miss Jess. How are we doing, Jess?
I'm really good. I like the strut going on.
The billionaire strut. And we'll get to why Jess is here later on in this podcast. But before we move on, every week we like to check in and see what everyone's been up to, what they've been playing. So, Mo, it's been a while, so why don't you go first?
I've played a little bit of everything. A little bit of Madden, a little bit of Destiny, Dishonored 2. I just got Watch Dogs 2 this week. Been playing that a little bit. A lot of PSVR. I love that Batman game so much. I have more fun watching my wife play it than watching the screen because I still so whenever you're standing on that thing, I still get nauseous. Like I get scared. Like not sick, but like, oh no, this is so high up. And then I remember I'm in a room. So I no longer play that one. I just watch her play it. But other than that, still just coaching football, and basketball started because we lost our playoff game last week. It was pretty crushing, but I didn't want to ruin the awesome extra live stream I was watching with my negativity, so I just didn't say anything.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my week.
Sorry, Mo.
It's cool. Everyone's gonna be someone's loser. I think that's the quote.
Everybody hurts sometime.
I was about to do a really mean segue, but I decided against. I was going to go, speaking of losers, Nathan, what have you been up to this week? But,
I'm glad
I'm not going to do that. So instead I'm going to say, Nathan, sir, what have you been up to?
I did my extra live stream.
Yes,
really?
you did.
I did.
Woo!
And some people here may have actually been watching the stream and making me listen to certain music by ABBA and other people. For instance, Dancing Queen was playing lots and lots. About 6 times in a row, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
The whole song?
It's the only reason I donated.
Wow.
I couldn't deal with it.
So, obviously, we were taking song requests, we were singing songs, and it was just, it was a good time. So, thank you to everybody, by the way, that was able to join the stream, to donate, to stop by, to say hello. It was a fun time. Good time was had by all. As far as what I played during the stream, I did play through the entirety of Titanfall 2. The single player was okay. I don't see why everybody's infatuated with that game as much as I'm hearing online. Honestly, it was fine, but it wasn't revolutionary in my opinion. It was okay. It was good that they had a story, and I liked the BT Titan character. But everything else other than that was just kind of like colored by numbers in a way, in my opinion. And I know that's not the popular opinion, but that's the way I felt. The actual multiplayer, when I played that, it just didn't feel as good as it used to for the original Titanfall. And again, that's probably not a popular opinion, but that's what I've noticed anyway with Titanfall 2. I also played Battlefield 1, the entirety of that, and that to me is a superior game. From the single-player side, at least. And it tells a really great story across different vignettes and different characters. And I thought they did a really well job with it. Good graphics and artistry. It was fantastic. It was really good. I recommend that one above Titanfall personally for the story aspect and single-player. I also played a ton of Destiny. Started out the stream with our good friend Dan, and he was playing with me and getting me, ready to do 24 hours of gaming. We started with some Destiny and played that for, it feels like 6 hours at least. So it's like a quarter of the stream. And you know what? One of these days I'm going to have to actually play some Destiny outside of my extra live stream because it was kind of fun being able to play with the guys again and get some action going on. I leveled up my guy just a little bit. It's like 255 now, I think, or 355. Yeah, does that sound right? 355. Mo?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, you've played like 1,000 hours, haven't you?
Oh, I mean, not that much. Probably 300-ish.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been playing a lot since the new updates, so he
That's
hasn't
true.
actually done the level up. So I think you're at level 40 with your character, but I think light level, I think like 350, 360 is probably where you're at.
Yeah. So it was fun. It was good to see that go through and play some more of that. I played a little bit of the Division until I did the underground thing and realized that I was not ready for that. And it was about hour 22, and I was just like, I was not ready for that kind of game at that point in the stream. So I went and played some Madden and just kind of chilled out with some Madden. The one thing that missed this year was the typical staple, Peggle 2. It did not make an appearance during the stream this year, so
Hallelujah.
To all the haters of Peggle 2, that was missing, but it will make a triumphant return one of these days. Trying to think if I played anything else during the stream. I don't think so. I mean, those were the big hitters. But I made it.
Now, how did you hold up throughout the stream? Because I wasn't able to tune in, which I'll get to why I wasn't able to tune in later. But how'd you hold up throughout the process?
Oh, the first few hours is fine. But then, once the sun starts to go down, and how the sun goes down earlier now because the time change.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's just like, man, it feels like it's 9 o'clock. Nope, it's 6:30. And you keep on going, and just, I think the first Red Bull was about 9 o'clock, 8:30, somewhere around there. And then I had some coffee after that with some Baileys, and that was about 2 a.m. I think. Then I had another Red Bull around 4 or 5 a.m. And then we ended the stream about 11:30 noon, because we started about 11:30 or noon the day before. Had a lot of just people coming in and out of the stream that kept you active and kept you engaged. So that's the key, right? Is being able to, when someone pops in the stream, have it open like in the laptop or something, so you can glance at it and start talking to people. They'll talk back. And the only problem with that is, like with Twitch, you have that 30-second delay. So as soon as you see something and say something, it's 30 seconds before people in the stream actually hear you reply to it.
Oh, right.
So that's the only problem. Beam, obviously, is a little bit quicker. There's the less latency there. But when I started out, I tried doing the dual stream. I streamed from the Xbox to Twitch, and I had my Elgato capture to Beam. But my Mac is just a little too slow, I think, for being able to really stream out properly. So it was falling behind, and I eventually just, stopped the Beam stream and just went with the Twitch stuff that was built in, because it works better. But yeah, right. I mean, it was great. I mean, being able to hold up, and I didn't get as giddy towards the end this time as I did. But I
missed that noise, actually. I missed that.
Yeah, because you were there a couple years ago, weren't you?
Last year. That was actually when we first started hanging out.
Yeah,
and that's when our love started. Our boy band grew into an actual men band.
We were no longer just strangers in the night. We were. So, but that's me. So I took entirely too long, but I think that's everything.
All right. Well, fair enough then. Before we move on to the next one, Coach Mo has a rebuttal as to why Titanfall 2 is so good.
Okay, so if you have $0 and then somebody gives you $50, you're jacked because you had $0. Mm-hmm. But if you already had $50 and then somebody gives you $60, you're like, that's only a $10 increase. Like, oh, I got $10. Okay, Titanfall had no campaign. So even though if we all know kind of mediocre campaign, it's a 0 to a 50. That's a huge, $50, woo. But in Battlefield, you're like, oh, it's from a 50 to a 60. It's only a little bit better. It's like you don't feel that same excitement. So that's why I was going to say, the reason everyone loves the campaign is because there is one. That was what I was going to say.
But wait, if you bought Titanfall 1 and bought Titanfall 2, you technically lost $120.
Not if you bought the collection editions, then you lost $390.
Yes, and then you lost a whole lot more.
I own both.
Of course you do. We know you do.
I can't stop myself. They're so big and shiny.
That's what she said.
I like robots. I want to be a robot when I grow up.
All right, so now it's Jess's turn to go ahead and tell us what she's been playing. You kind of get the gist of what we just did, so take it away.
I did my Extra Life on November 5th, so I'm still slightly recovering from the lack of sleep that I had from that. Ended up being a little bit longer because I ended up actually hosting an event with the Toronto Guild. So I guess lately I've been mostly playing with other people solely to make sure that I'm still awake and don't rely on my own skills. So lately I've been playing some Borderlands pre-sequel with a few friends, and then Don't Starve Together and Terraria. So again, just relying on sort of either shooting stuff or just collecting resources and stuff, and not a lot of thinking towards anything.
Just no thinking for 24 hours straight. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, just in terms of recovery mode. I mean, at the actual event, it was a mixture of tabletop stuff, and I ended up trying out some Overwatch, which was crazy, and I felt really bad for my team because I made them lose horribly every single round. But
who got stuck as Claptrap?
Nobody did. I mean, yeah. I actually played through the entire campaign with one of my friends as Claptrap. And I had to play as Athena because I just had to sit there and constantly just heal him because he couldn't use his special moves because it just pissed me off too much. And I tend to play as a sniper. And so some of his things are like the Gunzerker and stuff. So I would go through all of my bullets. And I'm like, no, you're never pushing that special move ever again. I'm done with this.
Oh. Well, then I guess it's my turn. So for me, I finished up Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I think I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. I love the game. It's a great story. The visuals were great. The ending was a little lacking for me, but I guess that's kind of what you had to do considering how that game plays. I won't spoil anything for anybody who hasn't gotten to it yet, but it is free on PlayStation Plus right now. So if you haven't played it, it's definitely worth the play, I think. Other than that, I am playing, I finished up Small Radio's Big Television, which was a new puzzle game out from Adult Swim Games. The full stream of that game, it's in 3 parts, is up on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I'm not a big puzzle person per se, but this was kind of a fun game. It wasn't so difficult that I, had to rage quit or anything at any point. I didn't have to look up any hints. I kind of just figured it out on my own, which I liked. Made me feel a little bit smart. The story seemed a little bit off. I think they had come up with the idea for the game and then tried to come up with a story afterwards. So a little rough there, but overall I think it was pretty cool. So that review should be up on the website already by the time you hear this. And then I am playing Destroy All Humans, which was remastered for the PS4 and released last week. It is not available on Xbox currently. I did play this game back in the PS2 era, and I remembered it vaguely as kind of being like, hey, this is like Grand Theft Auto, but it's with an alien instead. And it's like that still, obviously. The graphics are enhanced up a little bit. It's not PS4 quality by any means, but it looks more like a PS3 title, which is kind of cool. It is still very fun. The humor is still definitely there, and it holds up actually over time. So the enhanced visuals do definitely help. The fact that the load times are obviously non-existent pretty much for the most part. But it's a fun game. So I think it currently retails for $20. If you have PlayStation Plus, I think you get 10% off or something. But it's definitely fun. If you remember the game at all, it's worth the playthrough. If you didn't play it, though, I probably would suggest to wait for a sale or something. Pay $10 or less for it because if you don't have fond memories of it, it probably doesn't seem that exciting to you. But it's pretty cool. I will have a review, and there is some footage of that on YouTube already if you're interested. And lastly, the reason I couldn't check out Nathan's stream is I was busy working at Rhode Island Comic Con. So that's Rhode Island's pretty much biggest, actually almost all of New England's biggest Comic Con. We had over 80,000 people in attendance, so it was pretty cool. Last year, as some of you may know, I did get the pleasure of hanging out with Michael Rooker for the weekend, and he was amazing. This year, I was with the hero, the true hero. If you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, he is the true hero of the Karate Kid, Mr. Billy Zabka himself, from Cobra Kai, sweeping the leg, put him in a body bag, Johnny. That guy, so that was pretty cool. I did get to meet a few other celebrities. Abraham from The Walking Dead, Robin Lord Taylor, who plays the Penguin on Gotham.
I was wanting you to say Lincoln after you said Abraham. That would have been awesome.
I did get to meet Abraham Lincoln. Actually, there was a guy cosplaying as Abraham Lincoln. Does that count?
No.
No. Got to meet Jason David Frank. For all you old school fans, he was the original Green Power Ranger. He was a super nice guy. And then the other people I got to kind of hang out with that were really cool to hang out with, and you probably wouldn't expect it, was and shoot, his name is escaping me right now, so I feel bad, but he is the guy who plays the voice of Mort from Family Guy, and he's also one of the Jerky Boys from back in the day. He was really cool. And then for Nathan, because it's Star Wars related, in the booth right next to me, so I did kind of talk to him all weekend as well, was Mr. Felix Silius. Do you know who that is, Nathan?
Felix Silius.
Yes.
No, off the top of my head, I can't place who that would be.
Okay, he played a majority of the screen-timed Ewoks in the original Return of the Jedi.
Oh, cool.
And he also played the robot on Buck Rogers. He did some things in Star Trek as well. But I'll tell you, this guy, I mean, I didn't want to ask how old he is, but I mean, he can't be under 80, 85. And he's obviously a little person. But he has so much life and so much spunk to him. It's fantastic. So he was a super nice guy. Got to hang out with him a little bit. And then I was within, I don't know, maybe 10 feet of Wonder Woman herself, Miss Gal Gadot. And she had an entourage of the likes I've never seen. Coach Mo, how tall are you again?
6'7".
Okay. So she was probably surrounded by 8 to 10 Coach Mo's.
Ooh.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
That's
she had like that many Coach Mo's?
Well, no, to live with amongst my own people. I'm tired of living with all these memes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and she's not a short woman at all. She's 5'10", 5'11" anyway in her own merit. But, I mean, these guys were massive, and she walked with, like, 4 in front of her and, like, 4 around and behind her. It was insane to see it, but it was completely crazy. But, yeah, so that was my weekend. So I didn't get to tune in to Nathan's stream, unfortunately, because I was tied up doing that kind of stuff. So
now, my question, is that the new Wonder Woman? I literally don't watch any TV, so I didn't know the name.
That's the new Wonder Woman from Batman versus Superman, and she's the one starring in the next Wonder Woman movie. She was also in a couple of the Fast and Furious movies, I guess, too. I'm not up to date on those, but she was in at least, I think, the last 2 of them. So, and I guess she's going forward a recurring character, but yeah. So it was pretty cool. There were some other people there. Stan Lee was in attendance. Millie Bobby Brown, who was 11 on Stranger Things. So met a lot of cool people. So I had fun doing that. But yeah, that was my entire weekend. But yeah, that's it for us. So each and every week, obviously, you hear from us plenty, sometimes probably too much, you might say. But we also like to check in and see what you guys have to say. So it's time to check our messages.
Message for you, sir.
So our first question comes from Kyle. He would like to know, and it's not Kyle who works here on staff. He would like to know, what video game have you played the most of and why? Coach Mo, you go first.
This one, I was like, if it's recent, it's a different game. But if it's like lifetime, it's probably going to be the Madden franchise. I just love sports games. I love that at the end of every game, there's a winner and a loser. Like there's a desired outcome. So that's probably why I enjoy them so much, where I can play 100 hours in Skyrim and never actually made it to the place you're supposed to make it to. So that's why.
All right. For me, it would have to be Fallout 3, I imagine. I've beaten that game no less than at least 10 times, if not more, including all the DLC. So I've sunk so much time into that game. Biggest reason for me is I just love the environment and the narrative the game had to do. And pretty much every time you play a Fallout game, whether it's 3, New Vegas, or 4, you experience different things. There are multiple endings, obviously, but there are parts of the game that you may not discover at all because not everything's mandatory to get to the end game. So there's always new places, new people, new missions that you may have stumbled across every time you played it. So that's kind of why I sunk so much time into it. Jess, what about you?
Man, that's a tough question. I guess based on probably like my Steam library, it would be probably the Borderlands franchise. I I love the art style of it, and I mean, the characters are hilarious, but I often find it's the fact of like who I'm playing with, and every time there's sort of like a different group playing through, just like the interactions between all of the characters that we're playing, I just find them hugely amusing. Like right before this, I was playing one, and there was like comments about like Moxie's boobs, and I was like, I've never even heard these lines before, and this is amazing. So it's just, yeah, that's probably the one that I play the most often, and probably for the longest.
I have to get back into those. I got to pick up like the Handsome Jack collection or something, because I didn't play those. I played like the first one, I think, a little bit. Didn't play too much into it, but I know a lot of people say it's so similar to Fallout, just like a faster paced Fallout, that I really got to spend more time doing. I got to visit that game again. Nathan, how about you?
Game that I've played the most, like a singular title, or can we do franchise?
Well, Mo did a franchise technically, so I guess I'll allow a franchise, because my answer's still the same either way. So.
Or did I? Because I still have the original Madden on PC. Wow,
I don't think you still play that often.
Not that often.
There you go.
You win.
So for me, it's gonna be anything Star Wars. I always put in a ton of time in like Battlefront, Knights of the Old Republic. You know, I played through that a million times. So I mean, it was just so much fun. Anytime there's a Star Wars game, I usually sink a lot of time into it. But outside of that, I spent at least 300 hours in the Mass Effect franchise. The Witcher, I've spent well over 100 hours. Dragon Age franchise, I've spent well over 300 hours as well. Destiny, as mentioned before, I've probably spent another at least 300. Madden, man, I've probably spent a lot of time there too. More than I would care to admit. Mo, wasn't I more than you for the last year's Madden?
I don't believe that. We'd have to look that up.
Need a ruling on that, Mo. Find that out.
And well, if I turn it on, man, you know what's happening.
But for all that, it just seems to be like those are the kind of games that I played a lot of. Are those games that just I enjoy the world. I enjoy the story, the characters, and that's really, where I tend to land, because they can be a single-player game. Honestly, I don't need copious amounts of hours of multiplayer, though I've had that with Destiny for sure, but it's really just the characters and really enjoying the environment that you're in and the mechanics of the game. I could spend hours just driving around in Mass Effect 1 on the moon, in the Mako, just driving around. It's just so fun exploring and going and doing things like that in those games, and not even caring that the universe is coming to an end and I'm just over here on the moon chilling. But it's just one of those, the way the game progresses type scenarios. But yeah, those out of those, I don't know which one I played the most. It's just been a ton of time in that kind of game.
That sounds like a next year's Extra Life challenge. You have to do at least 4 hours of just driving around on the moon. Mass Effect 1.
Challenge accepted.
I'm going to hold you to that, buddy. All right, so our second question comes from Jakia.
Jack.
I think Mo just had a seizure, I'm not sure. And they would like to know, what is our favorite video game character? So let's go in reverse this time. Nathan, you go first.
Video game character. That's actually a really tough question. When you look at the established characters, like you got Master Chief, you got Nathan Drake, and honestly, it'd have to be. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say Nathan Drake, but I have to probably lean towards Mr. Drake because A, we share the first name, and B, he's just like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. But as far as my favorite video game character, honestly, it would probably have to be Revan from Knights of the Old Republic. Just because it's an interesting character. There's that interesting twist that if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. And you spend a lot of time with, the Revan character. So it's really interesting to kind of see where it goes. And he plays, or she plays a role later on in different games. And there's a book about him or her. And it's gotta be Revan.
Come on, it's not Dash Rendar?
Dash was only in one game. And, honestly, Dash was just a ripoff of Han Solo because they couldn't get Harrison Ford likeness.
Yeah, but he was a redhead. I even had the action figure for him.
Of course you did. You
yeah.
would have had the action figure for Dash and for Chucky and for anybody else.
Anybody, Bozo the Clown, Ronald McDonald.
I can't even think of that many redhead characters.
Yeah.
I can't.
They're like redheaded stepchildren.
I mean, not to disparage redhead or anything. I just can't think of that many redheaded like video game main characters.
It's a valid point. I can't either. Anyway, while we ponder that thought, Jess, who was your favorite video game character?
Oh gosh, I don't even know if I have an answer to this. Like, that'd be so hard to pick one out of everyone. I mean, I feel like I've been asked
Nathan
this
picked
question.
two, so
I know. I feel like I've been asked this question so many times, and I mean that's like I'm fairly new to cosplaying, but that's usually what I end up doing is picking sort of the people that I really enjoy playing, or I just really like the character art, I guess. I don't know. I guess like my most recent was Rosalina, but that was mostly because we were doing a group costume, and so I ended up like making my own like little Luma and stuff. But I don't know if she'd be actually like my favorite of the Mario series. I don't know. Like I like Shell from Portal, but again, she's not really a character that necessarily speaks or you actually identify with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer to this.
well, if you do, interrupt us and just blurt it out, whatever it is, and then we'll try and remember what we were talking about. But it'll be fun. So I guess right to me. I will say Nathan Drake is definitely in my top two as well, because he's named after Nathan as well. That's also why I like him. And then I'm probably gonna go with Link from Legend of Zelda. He's obviously I don't even want to call him soft-spoken. He's a non-spoken character, but he's the hero of time, if you will. And there's just all the different adventures. He's always been a favorite of mine since the original one. So I'll go with that. How about you, Coach Mo?
Before I can answer, Nate, you played 5 days, 13 hours, and 19 minutes of Madden 16. I played 9 days, 4 hours, and 55 minutes.
So
Almost doubling you.
I retired, but when I retired, I was ahead of you.
Okay. All right. I'm just telling you what the stats say.
Thank you for the ruling, sir. The check's in the mail.
Thank you. You guys forgot the hero that we all didn't want, but the hero we needed. Jay Cutler is my favorite video game character. I've won more Super Bowls than I can count, thanks to Jay. His strong arm. I love him. I'm so grateful for everything that he brings to the table with that rocket cannon of an arm of his and those great legs. Thank you, Jay, for all you've done.
See, I'm both proud and disappointed in you, Mo, for the same reason. And it's because you didn't answer that you are your favorite video game character and said like you created yourself in something and you were your favorite.
I always like to play as a player I actually cheer for. My favorite NBA player I ever played was Dan Dickau.
You can't cheer for yourself?
No way. Weird. Selfish. Goodness.
All right, so the next question is from Shy. And this is going to be a tough one because I literally have no answer for it, and I'm not sure anybody else does. But I think no matter what any of our answers are, the winner in how much money have you spent on gaming, which is the question, Coach Mo wins.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I want to say I have no idea. I really don't.
Shy, I could put you, your brother, and your soon-to-be little sister, because her mom is pregnant, all through college, and probably still have spent more money on gaming.
Like community college or like Ivy League?
I would say one Ivy, 2 state schools.
Okay, there you go.
I would say that pretty confidently. Stupid collector's editions. God.
I mean, I don't know. I would say it. I mean, I would think it'd have to be under 10 grand in my lifetime, I guess. But I mean, I've been gaming for almost 30 years at this point, so I don't know. But I would have to say it's got to be under 10 grand for me. Nathan, any estimate?
Did
you buy a cheap used car?
Did I buy a cheap used car?
No. Could you buy a cheap used car?
Oh, definitely. Because I'm trying to think back. I spent $600 on the PS3, the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, the PS2. Just trying to think of all the different consoles. I had at least 2 PS2s because I bought the slim one as well. All the controllers and different games. I'm gonna guess, close to 10.
Yeah, that's around where I thought too.
You know, it's gotta be more than that. It has to be more than that, actually. Because I'm
That's
just
the thing
thinking
about the consoles are going to be up near there alone, I would think.
yeah, and then you put on the accessories, and I bought the stupid Xbox HD DVD drive. Remember that?
Wow.
Yeah.
They owe you money for that.
I know, but it's got to be actually probably more than that. I would say, because for a while I was trying to calculate some stuff out, and how many games, if I bought them all new, I had in my backlog that just hadn't been touched yet on this current generation, and there was a lot of games there. You've seen that list, so
yeah.
It's probably more than 10. It's probably closer to 15, if not inching up towards 20. Oh my god.
Yeah, when you think about it, you feel bad about yourself. Thanks, Shy. That's a great question. But no, yeah, I'm thinking back now too. So I'm obviously I have probably in my lifetime, I think I might have had more consoles than you, Nathan. But like my original Nintendo, I had over 100 games for, and I kept them all until I sold off the whole collection. But I mean, that alone right there has got to be a couple grand, like right there. So yeah, I'm probably in the 15 to 20 range as well. Jess, any sort of estimate?
No, I don't want to admit to that. I've been very fortunate in terms of a lot of like the older consoles, because I just sort of, it'd be like family members and they didn't want them, and I'm like, yes, please give me your consoles, because like I grew up gaming on them, but they were always usually like my cousins or my aunts or something. So I'm lucky that way. But yeah, no, I don't think I want to admit how much money.
I don't blame you. All right, so our next question comes from Laura. This will be fun for you to answer, Jess. What would you do if you could have any job in the gaming industry?
Oh, do I want my current job?
I don't know. You tell us.
No, I would probably stay with. I'm a level designer and a co-owner of a company, and I don't know if I would change that. I mean, I really like what I do, and I do a lot of sort of environmental artists to it. But I mean, it's a matter of like skills and what you have.
You have a particular set of skills.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I mean, to make beautiful art, like that'd be awesome, but I don't think I got the skills to make that. So.
But do you have the skills to pay the bills?
I'm trying.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I would stay probably with level design. I wouldn't change that.
Okay. Coach Mo, how about you?
See, when I was looking at this one, I don't have the skills for either, but I would either want to do voiceover, or I would love to do the art part. Like, I can't draw to save my life. Circles are a little too tough for me. So I would love if I had those skills. Those would be the two things I think I would love to do in this industry, because like building my own game, it would become a Madden zombie multiplayer game. And
Dude, can you imagine zombie football?
Yes,
We should totally do that.
Yeah.
If it's not existing, it should be.
Mutant League Football, isn't that basically the same thing?
It is, but ours is better.
Or Blood Bowl, is that the same
Blood
thing?
Bowl. I actually do own Blood Bowl 2. It's not a bad game. Not great, but it's not bad.
Mo just wants a job to bring back Def Jam Vendetta.
Oh no! Fight for New York. Fight for New York slaps.
No, that's true. That's right. That's true.
Fight for New York. Oh my goodness.
Would you bring in special character Michelle Branch?
Of course, the greatest singer of our generation.
DLC. Make it pay extra though.
No, she'd have to be the titular character. She'd have to be like, the face.
No, she'll only be in the super deluxe $300 collector's edition.
Yes, the Mo edition.
The Mo edition. Oh.
Why do I buy them?
And meanwhile, Jess is sitting there like, did they tell Branch? Yeah. Yeah, we did. It's a running theme. Nathan, how about you, even though we kind of already know the answer, I think?
Yeah, so much like, Mo said, I would love to be able to get into voice acting and things like that. I would enjoy that immensely. But I would also think it'd be really fun to be, because I have no. I am completely polar opposite of like Jess. She can create things. I can make ideas and be like, wouldn't this be cool? You make it. That would be what I would love to do. Like, be the guy that comes up with ideas and be like, well, we should be able to do this. And, from just, previous gaming experiences and what you've learned along the way, what you'd like to put into a video game. And that'd be really fun. But definitely, possibly attainable would be the voice acting for sure.
I agree. For me, I just want to be Shigeru Miyamoto. I think it's valid. No, but
who is that?
Mo.
Oh.
What?
Are you serious, Mo?
Yes.
Okay, Shigeru Miyamoto is the man who, if you think of pretty much any Nintendo franchise ever.
Oh, like Tecmo Bowl.
No, that's not a Nintendo franchise.
Are you sure? That's
a Tecmo franchise. Oh. He created Mario, Link, Samus, Donkey Kong, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, pretty much everything except for Pokemon. That's the only one he didn't create. But yeah,
we'll drop the ball there.
Yeah, he did. He kind of slipped up there on that one. But yeah, but no. And the serious answer is I like Nathan's idea of just being the idea guy. Be like, hey, I guess that would be like executive producer, perhaps. But he didn't actually have to do the work. He just kind of had the idea and then take the credit for it. But I think the serious answer would probably be, it's kind of hard to say because I don't know what he does, but I'd want to be like Reggie from Nintendo, where you're put on parade to kind of talk about the product, be the face of it, if you will, and just kind of promote the brand kind of thing. So I guess like a PR person would be my ideal thing. I want to be the guy on the stage in E3, kind of hype it up the game and stuff like that. So that's what I'd want to do. So 2 more questions left before we move on. Sean wants to know, what game do you hate that you love? So I guess that's a game that you'd kind of be like, oh, I can't believe I enjoy this game, but I do. So I guess to set the example, let's throw it to Coach Mo first.
Call of Duty. I have spent, we did the math once, it's like $2,000 on Call of Duty Ultimate Super underwater collections. I can't stop myself. And I never play anything other than the story and maybe like 10 hours of multiplayer because I never have like a dedicated group of friends who play. But I still buy them and I still can't stop buying the collector editions for the extra $150.
And so it's bad enough it's Call of Duty, but I'll let you slide on that. But the collector's edition from Call of Duty half the time give you the stupidest things, like here's an RC car, like the statues and stuff I get. The statues and stuff I get, but the cars.
Don't make fun of the car. And the mini fridge. The
mini fridge. Well, mini fridge is cool.
Unnecessary. You can only put like 6 sodas in there.
No, you can put an entire 24-pack in there. Thank you very much.
Really? In a mini fridge?
I do it all the time. It's right here in front of me.
Are you doing the little cans?
Yeah. Do you want to hear the noise it makes when I open it?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Make sure it's in the other mic.
I got it. I put the mic right here.
While he's doing that, do you know which state has the smallest cans?
No, this is gonna be a bad joke, I assume. I have no idea.
Minnesota.
Oh.
Dad jokes.
Da, 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 da.
What is Mo doing? I thought he said the fridge was right there.
I think he's probably filling it up with soda first.
The sound's not working.
Aww.
I don't know if there's a little battery in that top part. It's not making the sound.
No, we were trying to figure out what you were doing that whole time. So
I was trying to because you open the door and it does the from the zombies part, but it wasn't doing it.
All
right, we'll take your word on that.
Podcast, Mo.
I can take pictures.
That'll give us a great perception of what it sounds like when you open it. Take those pictures. So, Nathan, what game do you hate that you love?
I don't know if I love it, but I hate that I enjoy playing it because it totally goes against what I usually enjoy in gaming, and that's Destiny. Because with Destiny, there's really no story. People will try to say that there's story. There's not story in Destiny. Come on. But the mechanics are sound and really good, and the gameplay is fantastic, and the graphics look really good, and the sound, like the audio for even the sound effects, the music, just it's a fantastic package, and I hate that I love it.
Fair enough. I'll go next. It's kind of a toss-up here. So one of them, and this is going to get some gasps, I imagine, is the Telltale games. And it's see, thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's not because they're bad; they are great. But in my head, sometimes
we need a Homer Yelp right there, like
we can insert one. We'll put one in. It's not because they're bad games by any means. I absolutely love them. But sometimes I sit back and think, like, I really didn't do anything.
Did you ever? No, come on now.
Seriously.
No, stop. Listen, that statement right there can be said about any game.
Well, yes, but to the extent that I'm literally doing it's worse than an on the rails type game, because at least with on the rails you might actually control and move your character, which yes, certain scenes in Telltale games does that, but for the most part, you maybe press a couple buttons, you pick some dialogue, and that's it.
The listeners will remember that.
That's fine. Like I said, I still love them, but sometimes I just think back, I'm like, I could have just watched a movie with the same content and enjoyed it just as much, because they're just interactive movies.
But
I
love
them.
I was totally involved in this conversation and listening, but the thing works now.
That's because you were busy playing at Telltale games. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Microphone. Did you hear it? It laughed at you.
It sounded more like an 80s laugh track.
Yeah. This is the other one. And then close it. There it is. Okay. I'm done now.
Okay. And my other answer, I guess that's more of a traditional game, kind of, but you still don't do anything in it. And I've played every single iteration of it and sunk in tons and tons of hours. That's the Animal Crossing franchise. I love it, and I hate that I love it at the same time, because you literally don't do anything. You're just doing chores. It's all you do. You do chores. And every version just has different chores you could do, but you still just do chores. But I love the little stupid series, so that's me. Jess, how about you?
I would have to say probably it's a mobile one. It's called Blenduku, and it's basically like colors and Sudoku together. And it's one of those things that I'm like, I could be doing a lot more with my time, but for whatever reason, I'm going to make colors slowly go from black to white and make sure that they're in the right order. And it's just one of those
whoa, that's racist.
Hey.
I mean, I know you're from Canada, but I don't know if you heard, we have Trump as a president now. You're kind of dancing a fine line right there.
That's not what I was meaning. Gosh. Okay, you can go from blue to green.
There you go.
I don't know. Like, it's one of those games, I guess, like, as a design person, I find really interesting in the sense that, like, it doesn't take a lot of thought, but it's just something to keep busy and, like, make sure that my eyes are still working. So
make sure that your eyes still working. Okay.
Yeah. If you play it, you'll understand.
Okay. I mean, that's a great problem not to have, that your eyes still work. So we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So our last question, which isn't really a question, it's more of he wants us to comment on this. Delvin Cox wants to know our thoughts on the NES Classic being harder to find than the rarest of Pokemon. So for me, I will tell you all a very sad story. And this sad story is about a certain redhead you all know and love. Not Ronald McDonald or Bozo. Or Dash Rendar. But it is I. The NES Classic came out on November 11th, which happens to coincide with my birthday. So, being a fan of the original Nintendo, having owned the original Nintendo when it came out, this was a no-brainer for me, something I definitely wanted. So, my wife said, hey, I'm going to go out and get it for you. We're going to go out and find this for you. And I was like, no, don't worry. Don't spend the money. We got Christmas coming up, stuff like that. Let's worry about that stuff. Don't worry about me. It's fine. I'm old enough. I don't need birthday presents. But she insisted. So we got up early that day. We all hopped in the car, drove to the nearest Target, actually it was the town over to a slower Target. Pulled up to the doors at 8:01, and she dropped me off right at the front door and said, "Go, go, go, I'll park." Okay, ran inside. They were all gone. So then I drove to the nearest GameStop, and they said, "Oh, we did have them, but we opened an hour earlier today." Okay, so no luck there. Drove to the next Target, no luck. So that boy who thought back to when he was 6 years old and opening that original NES on Christmas Day was left saddened on his birthday with no NES around. So I'm angry. But I'm not so angry at how hard it is to find, because that can happen when new systems come out. We're kind of used to that as gamers. The thing I don't like even more is the people who are scalping these things left and right, and they're going for like $300 on eBay. It's like, clearly that's what makes me angry. If you're going to buy it and use it, and I couldn't get one because the 12 people that ran to Target bought them and they're playing it, I can live with that. But when 10 of those 12 people are selling it on eBay for 4 times the price, that's what drives me nuts. So I'm hoping Nintendo rectifies this. They're claiming that shipments are going out every day. I still have not seen one in a store at all. So I'm a little disappointed. I really hope they fix it, because I think for $60 it's a great deal. And I have a feeling if they do this again with like an SNES Classic, we're going to see the price go way up, and that would feign my interest a little bit this time. But that's just me. Nathan, how about you? I know you were looking for one as well. Do you have any luck?
No. For the Extra Life stream, I was actually trying to grab one, but it didn't work out, because I went to a Target and 3 Walmarts and Best Buy and GameStop, and none of the places that I went to had them. And they had even the GameStop had a sign on the door that says, "Hey, we're out of this. Don't even worry about it." So I gave up, and went ahead and set up the stream for Extra Life, but I wasn't able to get one, which, I mean, to me, I'm not heartbroken about. I don't have the attachment that a lot of people do have to the console, and I would love to get one to be able to play it, and, there's a ton of great games on there that I've never played that I'd love to experience, but I would rather the people that really want one get them now, because they'll be available later. By the time after the holidays are over, they'll be around, and I can grab one then. So the disappointing thing, like you mentioned, is all these scalpers and stuff, because Nintendo there weren't any pre-orders for this, and they had to have known that the demand would be higher than what they're supplying. And I don't quite understand their logic behind this. But it's Nintendo. They've never been great with knowing how to stock stuff. Like, you look at the original Amiibo runs, they don't understand market. That's what it seems like. They don't understand the marketplace. Because I did hear that some places that were not in the U.S. have these things stacked on the shelves and can't move them. And there's other places that inside the U.S., particularly in Canada, that you can't find them. If they're in the store, they're gone within hours. Today, actually, at 4:00 Central Time, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. East Pacific, the past few days, Walmart has been saying, "Hey, we're gonna have more of these go live every day between now and now," and went on today right at 4:01, and Walmart's website was down. It was crashing. It wasn't even displaying all the images in the site, so I was able to get to the site where it had the link for the unit, but it was sold out by the time I got there, and that was like 4:03. So it's just disappointing. People will want to play these games legitimately. There's definitely the people that are getting these, I think, are most likely the people that are going to resell them and try to make a profit on them, but the people that want to share these 8-bit games with their kids, or with their family members that haven't ever played them, that this is super convenient because it'll work, you can just plug it in and HDMI and everything's hunky-dory. But it's frustrating, and I feel for everybody that's really, really wanting one. I was wanting one. I would have loved to have one on the stream for Extra Life. That would have been amazing, and just be able to play through Zelda, because I've honestly never played through the Zelda that was on that console. And I mean, most of those games on there, I've never even played more than 5 minutes if I've ever played it. So it would be nice, but one of these days, I'm sure I'll have one.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you. It's just kind of like the resell thing is what's killing me. I hope that they do get the stocking afterwards, because from what I've heard, this was just going to be a holiday release, and come like February, March, we weren't going to see it at all anymore. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but who knows? And you had a good point though with Nintendo just kind of getting in their own way, because the amiibo and the lack of thing there. I think Nintendo's just gotten so used to people not caring what they release that now that they're having some mild success, they kind of don't know how to handle it. So I'm hoping by the time the Switch drops, then we'll be good. So Jess, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like it's going to be sort of like I guess to reference a Christmas movie, since we're getting to that time and my work started playing Christmas music today, is sort of like a Jingle All the Way moment where like people are going to be out there trying to hunt it down for a Christmas present. And I mean, it sucks. Like you said, right? Like, I think a lot of those people that are actually getting them are people who end up reselling them. And it's going to happen, especially when it comes to things like sort of technology-based things. Like, I know PAX East always sells out within a few minutes of them releasing their tickets. Like, using the internet for those types of things is one of those hit and miss things. I'm slightly disappointed in the fact that Nintendo didn't think that this was going to be a big hit. I mean, you have the generation who bought the consoles for their children. Then you have the generation who grew up with those consoles, and now they're wanting to buy it for their kids, right? Like, I don't know. I'm sort of blown away at the fact that like they didn't prepare well enough for it.
Yep, I agree. So the last person whose opinion we're going to get actually has one, but he kind of knows what's going on with the demand and people not being able to get it. So, Coach Mo, what's your input, sir?
So I want to start off with a quick little tidbit about me. Whenever I find a place that I like, that's kind of becomes my place, and I go there. And I've learned just throughout life that if you treat people with genuine care and love, the universe and people take care of you. I haven't paid for a movie in almost a year because the manager at the local Regal loves me. I'm always, I come in with a smile. I've helped clean up the theater a couple times, not because I was asked to, but because people left it a mess and it wasn't right to leave it on the young man or woman who's working. And so with GameStop, that's the only reason I was offered a job there during the summers when I don't get paid, was because I just was a customer who loved games and loved people. And so my old boss calls me up and goes, "Hey, do you want this Nintendo Classic? We've got some extras coming in. They released this Friday." And I go, "I don't know what that is." And she laughed. I was like, "Well, I'm going to set one aside for you." I'm like, "Cool." She goes, "Do you want the second controller?" I was like, "Yeah." So we went and picked it up. And I didn't realize like how nuts this was going to be. And so we get back to school and we pull out the box, and me and my principal play little football. And I was like, "Oh, I'm done with it. I don't need to touch this ever again. This is not for me." And I was thinking about selling it. A week later now, since the launch, my wife's probably played 20 hours. She's beaten a bunch of games she remembers as a child. And I'm like, "Oh, great purchase for you." I don't know half the games that are on that list. I've never played. I played one Zelda game on the Wii U. It's the one that my console's made after. Windwalker, is that what it is? Hyrule Warrior, something like that. I don't know. Who cares? Didn't like it. It bored me. I was done. I was like, "No, I never want to play this again." It's a cool thing, but I feel really bad that people who love this franchise or love these games, love this idea, aren't allowed to do it. I almost sold ours, but my wife, who loved this stuff, got a chance to play these things she loves, and now I'm like, "Oh, good, Christmas present early for you. Now you'll think I'm an awesome husband." Yay! Because
she didn't think that before.
No, during football season, she's like, "I don't have a husband. We're just friends because we never see each other. I'm always working and watching film and that kind of stuff." So, this turned out to be a great thing for us to connect as gamers. She tried to get me to play some Kirby thing, and I lasted 1 minute and said, "No, get this away from me. I have no interest in this whatsoever." But I feel bad for those people, like you guys were saying. I'm glad I didn't decide to flip ours, because I would have never seen this side of Lacey and gotten to experience these things. But I feel so bad now that I was thinking about flipping it, because I would be taking from money and on exploiting someone's love, and that's not right. So I'm really glad I got to hear your guys' points of views, and yeah, that's all. But I also know for a fact, Kevin, there's one sitting in a room waiting for Black Friday for you, because I've already paid for it.
You're the man, Mo. You're the man.
I got you, babe.
I appreciate it.
Don't tell Donnie.
No. Actually, he doesn't want one. He was waxing on about how he doesn't care for it. So yeah, out of all the people you'd think, but
what a hipster answer. I don't care about this awesome thing that's so awesome with all these games that I think are awesome. Donnie, don't fire me.
That's all right. He'll trade in a bunch of stuff and get one free like a year from now. So we know how this works. So that will wrap.
2 Xbox Ones and a PS4 and get an NES Classic
and a Vita again. All right, sorry. We love you, Donnie. Don't listen to this. Don't listen to that episode. So that wraps up all the messages for this week, everybody. Thank you for sending them in. If you want to send in questions or comments, feel free to email us at podcast@playsomevideogames.com, or you could always tweet at us at PSVG. So now it's time to talk. Just why is this Jess on our podcast anyway? So, Nathan, I will let you run this part of the show, sir.
Me?
Yeah, dropping the bomb on you right now.
Ooh.
Do you want me to run it?
Actually,
No.
that would be amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the one, the only magnificent Jess Bradshaw. Jess, again, we'd like to thank you for coming on this evening and putting up with Mo and Kevin and myself and Mo. And
I said my name twice. I'm like super vital to this podcast.
Mo.
You're the heart, Mo. You're the heart of this whole operation.
That's right. But you know, I think I came in contact with you over Twitter because of Extra Life originally, if that's correct. And through things we did the podcast before, where we also got on with Dave, Good for Gaming himself, and talked about Extra Life. You know, that was about a couple months now, I think. And after that, you know, I just kind of wanted to get you back on the show to talk about what you do. And for those who are unfamiliar, you alluded to it earlier on in the show, but why don't you just tell me and Kevin, and maybe Mo if he's listening, he might be playing Madden, I'm not sure, what you do.
So I own my own company, which is a video game company with 3 other people, I guess. So I create video games, but I also do special effects makeup. I teach some classes. I work at retail part-time. So I do a little bit of everything. But the reason why I came on was the fact that because I create games, I play them, but I also create them. So I ended up going to school. So well, first off, I live up in Canada, in case you didn't realize that from all of the comments from before.
Canadian.
Yeah, I'm a Canadian. So I went to school at Brock University, which is near Niagara Falls. And I studied interactive arts and science, which was sort of just like a digital media general course. I sort of knew that I liked computers coming out of high school, but I didn't really know what I could do with it. And then after that, I guess sort of like the 4 years there, I started towards the end getting more into video game design, and I really liked it. And so I ended up pursuing a post-grad certificate at Sheridan College in video game level design. So that's sort of a little bit about the background, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's how I got to there.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. How did you... So growing up before college and before all that, when you were in your formative years, let's call it, what kind of gaming did you play?
I've been asked this question quite a bit, I guess just like with my students at one of the universities here, and just in general talking to people, sort of like, well, how did it start? And I was trying to think back to sort of like the very first game that I remember playing as a kid, and I'd have to say that was probably Mixed Up Mother Goose. So that was on one of the old PCs, and basically put the big floppy disk in and booted it up that way. And it was just sort of like a fun thing that like my dad sort of let me, I guess, play around with. A lot of it was sort of more based on the computer, and then, as I sort of mentioned earlier, it was sort of through family members that I started playing on consoles, and the NES was sort of one of the staples that I remember growing up with. And Dr. Mario, that was, I was going to allude to this before, of like my favorite character, but that was sort of like my go-to character always. I mean, both my parents were in the medical field, and the fact that he was a doctor plus he's Mario, it was just so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's sort of how it started. And then it was more in high school where I sort of like went away from gaming. So I would play, but I didn't have a Game Boy. I didn't have things that I could actively do when I wasn't at home. And so it was when I'd visit people in high school, they ended up having some of like the Xboxes and PlayStations. And so I started getting back into that, especially with the Halo series. And so I ended up having like a water bottle, and I'd like put money in and was trying to save up for an Xbox 360 at one point, and eventually bought that. And that's sort of, I guess, how it sort of took off, and where I ended up getting sort of my Twitter handle and my gamer name and everything, which is Fox Racing Girl, was sort of from that. And
from
then
the Xbox?
Yeah, it was actually, I messed up the spelling of girl the first time. Like I put regular girl in, and then it didn't go correctly, and so then I had to put a U instead of an I, and then I've just stayed with it. I don't know if I'm super okay with my name, but that's where it came from, and I just had to stick with it now. So,
well, the Xbox and Twitter do allow name changes, so if you wanted to change your name, you could. But I mean, I think it's great. Keep with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not offensive, which is nice, because a lot of people pick those names way back, and then they're like, man, I was really stupid when I was younger. And I mean, even my Twitter handle is not actually, it's with an X on the end because somebody stole it. And I'm like, I don't know who else would ever want this name, but I guess somebody did, so.
Yeah. So, you chose Xbox over PlayStation.
Yeah, and it was mostly just because I had friends that were playing with Xboxes as well. That was the reason.
Because only Xbox allows you to play with friends. No other system does that.
This is true. Xbox brings you together.
Looking at you, Dan Anthony.
But if you don't have friends, you can just get a Nintendo console.
And then you also won't have game releases. Wah, 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 wah! Got you, Nintendo.
So, we've gotten, how you decided to get into this career. How long have you been doing it so far? Would you consider yourself as being a professional designer?
I don't know if anyone considers them as a professional designer.
I like how you start that off with a laugh.
I consider myself very professional.
Oh, I don't know if I can take you seriously either.
I'm a professional.
He's got the Pro controller. He has to be a professional.
Yeah, it says on the controller.
In terms of like the number of years, like I'm still fairly new to the industry. Considering I only graduated from school, I guess 2-3 years ago. I don't even know anymore. So it's one of those like hard things, especially I didn't go the traditional route where I jumped into like a AAA studio or an established studio. I ended up turning around and making my own company with some of the other people that I went to school with. And
That's a pretty scary endeavor.
Yeah, it was tough. Like it was one of those decisions that like we were all sort of applying to jobs, and we had talked about each time I went to school, we ended up making sort of a project at the end of it. And the project we made at Sheridan, which is called Little Miss Align, we really liked it, and the team worked really, really well together. We were different than the other teams because we actually picked people based on their skill levels and like the compatibility between the group versus like liking an idea together.
Is there like an eHarmony type thing for that?
I wish.
Single
No, and I
and
think
looking to design.
looking for fellow developers. I mean, there probably is somewhere out there, but I think for me...
Wait, time out. Developingrelationships.com. Boom. Copyright, play some video games.
I think a big thing was the fact that like we started, so it was a year-long program that we were in, and it was in December where we pitched ideas of games that we would make during the summer, and everyone didn't talk to each other sort of over the Christmas break, and then one of the first classes we had back, you had to pick groups. And I mean, I get socially awkward anyway, so the idea of trying to sit in a room with a bunch of other people and figure out who wants to be on my team, I didn't like that idea.
Wasn't it so just like in gym class where you have everybody lined up and you just pick?
Yes, and I didn't want to be picked last. And so it was one of those things that I initiated a bunch of conversations with some of the people I had worked with on like small projects in the first semester. And I knew their work ethic, and I knew the types of games that they were interested in making. And so basically we figured out that there was 4 designers that all got along really, really well together. And we all wanted to make a 3D game, and we really liked puzzle games. And other than that, we didn't care what type of game we made. We just had to be 3D and had to be puzzles. And so when we came in that day, we had already formed a group, and all we were doing was looking for our programmers, because it was 2 programs that went side by side, a design program and a programming one. And so we just sort of like, everyone would come up to us and was like, oh, like, I really liked your game. Like, can I work with you? And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I already have people. And so like, it was still awkward, but at least you were in a group formation that like the 4 of us stayed together. And we ended up finding sort of 2 people that didn't care what project they worked on, but they wanted to work together. And then there was a few other people who we had sort of been interested in, and we ended up talking to the teachers, and we're like, all right, so this is our situation. Who should we pick? And they were like, you need to pick these 2, and then you're up to like, if you want an extra one. And there was only one female programmer, and she's the unicorn of the group, right? Like, you just have to have her because it's awesome to have a female who is also a programmer. So it ended up being a team of 7. And I mean, it's like that group sort of came together, and we really wanted to sort of create a game that we actually wanted, because we ended up having to sort of make a smaller condensed version of it. And so when we ended up graduating, that was sort of the time where we all made that decision of like, you know what, let's see if we can actually make this a reality and make like a full-fledged game out of it. And that's sort of where our company came from.
So what was that game that you were driving towards? What was the game that brought the team together?
So it was Little Miss Align, is the title of it. We call it, I guess, like the genre of it would be a puzzle former, which is one that we created by ourselves. But basically, you sort of explore and you create platforms using sort of 2D logic in a 3D space. So it's all about like camera's perspective, so getting the right thing lined up so that it makes sense, I guess, in a 2D space, but in 3D space, they would actually be really far apart. I'm doing hand gestures, not that that's helpful at all.
Oh, yeah.
It does for the video.
Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of actually looking up the gameplay, just YouTubing Little Miss Align, and you'll be able to sort of see what that actually looked like. In terms of story-wise, it was about a little girl named Hannah who got separated from her parents at a carnival, and based on sort of her imagination and her fear of being separated, it creates this very strange and trippy environment that she explores as she sort of tries to connect back with her family.
Is there a waffle path?
Yes. Yes, there's a waffle maze in it.
I have a student who showed me a video of a game with a waffle path. This would have been like 2 months ago, month ago maybe, something like that. Maybe it was like a week ago. I'm so old I don't remember. And they were raving about how cool it looked. And it was for one of their projects. And like the moment I heard this name, I thought I'd heard it before. So that's why I was asking. So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
That's probably, weirdly, that might be our game. I mean, we showed it off. Both projects that I've had, we took to sort of a local thing here called Level Up Showcase. And it basically is a bunch of student projects from sort of Ontario area come together from sort of post-secondary schools and get to show off sort of what they've done. And I guess there's some type of competition in it, but most times it's just sort of showing off and networking with other people. And then there's often a lot of sort of the companies, whether it's indie or AAA studios, come in to sort of look at the talent that's coming out of these schools. And so we ended up winning third prize in 2 categories with Little Miss Align while we were there. I'm trying to think of what year that was. I guess it was 2015, because we ended up finishing our project in the summer, so we had to go the next year. But it was amazing how many people actually had heard about our game from that. And then we ended up going to Fan Expo and I think a few other smaller ones just to show off the game. Yeah, it's weird that people are actually able to have heard of my game, I guess, in some sense.
Now, where can people play this game at? Is this a PC game? Is it Steam?
So Little Miss Align was sort of more of a demo, and I don't think we actually ever put it up online solely because we knew we were going to make a full-fledged game of it later. We're completely sort of ripping, that's actually the current project that we're working on. And so we're ripping like the story from it because it really didn't have a strong enough story that we wanted. And then really trying to push the mechanics because it is all about sort of optical illusions and sort of a lot of magic happens that the player isn't aware of. And so we're trying to figure out ways that we can somewhat explain that so that we can push the puzzles to involve more mechanics that are useful. But I guess, yeah, if you following us on SpinByte Studios on Facebook or any type of social media, you eventually will be posting information. You guys are sort of getting a sneak peek because we haven't really discussed a lot of those details.
Ooh, aren't you glad I asked that question? See, I am professional, guys.
So, I have 2 questions about Little Miss Align because I looked at the trailer and stuff like that, and I love it. Number one, the visual style itself is very Tim Burton-esque and kind of like a little Alice in Wonderland whimsy type thing. Now, did you have any design in that, being the level design or anything, or was that kind of like a group idea?
Well, there was 4 of us that were level designers because that was the program we were in.
Mm-hmm.
I think all 4 of us love Tim Burton style. I know one of the co-founders of my company, Lacey, we recently just went out to the Toronto Symphony to listen to all of the music that was created for Tim Burton's thing. So it is a huge inspiration. And I mean, we wanted to have that element of sort of creepiness to it because it is her fear that was sort of projecting a lot of things are blown up out of scale and sort of are floating in space. So it was sort of, we want to push it more, I guess, in this game, in the fact that like things aren't what they're supposed to look like. And that they are supposed to be a little bit weird and not quite realistic, but the texture style of the artist that was on the project, who is one of the designers, Fred, did take a lot from realism. And the one level, the candy level, which is where the waffles are, the donuts. Oh my gosh, the donuts. That entire level makes me so hungry, and the amount of times that we've gone to Tim Hortons for like, oh, we just need some donuts for references right now, and we'd sit there and like stare at these donuts to get like the textures right.
Doing research, quote unquote.
Yes.
Research.
Yes.
The popcorn
so
really
much
stands out too.
Is a place in Canada that has donuts.
I've been to Tim Hortons.
Yes.
I'm trying to help.
It had
I've been
a
to Canada,
short-lived
though.
attempt to break into the New England area, and just Dunkin' Donuts stomped all over it. But
I think it's in Michigan too.
It's in a few places down in the States, but it is a very Canadian thing.
Yeah. I also noticed, like, you brought the donuts and the waffle textures, but like the popcorn, the giant popcorn kernels too, is like the hyper realism of those compared to the rest of the environment. Just kind of a cool contrast. The second comment, so you mentioned that other developers and some publishers were there at these conferences. By any chance, was Nintendo there?
No. Nintendo, if they were there, they never made themselves known that they were there. It tends to be more game developers than actual publishers.
Okay.
Which is a shame, just because I feel like if the publishers came in, especially with sort of their new sort of indie stream, that they actually want to pull a lot of these sort of indie games onto there. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Runbow, but Runbow
Yep.
is one game that was at Level Up and competed in Level Up, and then now has gone on to Nintendo and has actually done quite successful because of it.
Yeah, we've covered some other projects that team has worked on as well, on our website and stuff. The only reason I ask is because by any chance have you played Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U?
No, but I've heard of it before.
Okay, so they also play with the perspective angle, like Little Miss Aligned does, where like you look at something from one direction, like okay, this ladder is not connected, but then as you turn and look at it a different way, it is then connected and you're able to use it. So I just thought it was kind of weird that conveniently you did this project back in 2014, and then 2016 Nintendo has something kind of along the same line. So I was just inquiring there, but no, it's very cool.
No, there was sort of a growing trend. Momentum Valley, Echo Chrome. There's a few of them that were very like perspective-based puzzles that have come out, and we did get quite a bit of interest because it was going that direction. And we're hoping that when we do bring this out, that we will get a lot of interest because it is one of those sort of puzzle, optical illusion, 2D, 3D type games. So
cool, I love it. All right, back to you, Nathan. Sorry.
Gosh, Kevin, you asked me to do this, and then you're like, no, I'm gonna come in here real quick. My name's Kevin. Sorry.
I don't think I said that, but
all right. So we talked about Little Miss Aligned, which sounds like a great game too. I'm looking forward when that is a full release. That'll be great. Thanks for the sneak peek. What about? Have you worked on any other games?
So at Brock, I ended up doing a game called Awaken, which we also took to Level Up and ended up winning, I guess, best game, I think it was. We were sort of the Harry Potters of the group. We got thrown in last minute and we were shoved underneath a staircase, and ended up getting huge amount of attention. So it's a first-person exploring game where you play as a girl named Hope who wakes up with no memories and sort of has to piece together what's happened to her through sort of exploring the environment. We had binaural audio, which was sort of a cool feature. Basically, our team was sort of, again, that program that I was in was a mixture of all different kinds of students. So they weren't just video game focused. There was film producers, there was audio people, there was website designers, there was a little bit of mixture of everything, and we really wanted to sort of take what our team had and be able to push the skills of that. So yeah, we ended up using binaural audio, we did some branching dialogue trees, and then we had live action cinematic flashbacks to sort of help push the story a little bit more.
And is that game available to be played?
That is a very good question. I know we had it hosted somewhere, but I think it was on one of like the school servers, so I'm not sure if the link is still actually active or not. I know our website ended up going down. I would have to get back to you on that.
No worries. So it sounds like you've got some good stuff going on here. Now, were both of these or only one of these under your banner of SpinByte?
Technically, neither of these are under the banner of SpinByte, I guess, because they were student projects that we did and then sort of inspired me to continue school or to form my own company. Under SpinByte, we're still a fairly new studio, coming up to our second anniversary in April, I believe. So we've made a game called My Nuts, which is about a flying squirrel who tries to recover his stolen nuts.
I think Mo is looking for that right now.
It was, I would put
what,
like this disclaimer on it. It's very much a prototype. So it was more to go through the pipeline. We went from a team of 7 for Little Miss Aligned down to a team of 4. So there's 3 designers and 1 programmer that's in the company. And so we just wanted to see how we functioned as sort of that new unit, but we are also then going from working in sort of a lab space and having our computers right next to each other to now working remotely. So we learned a lot from that experience of sort of getting over those hurdles and understanding that things aren't going to be the same and that they're going to change sort of the group dynamics. But it was just sort of to flush out an idea and go from sort of the pre-production all the way to post-production. So.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So what is in the roadmap for SpinByte in the next year or so?
We're hoping, I mean, there's a lot of changes and things keep coming up, and that's what's going to happen with a small company, is there's always going to be sort of those unplanned moments. Recently, we ended up taking on some contract work for another local studio, just sort of helping them with some of their game projects. And we have a few sort of contracts that are possibly in the works with another company, helping them develop some mobile games. But for the most part, we're working on sort of the Little Miss Saline revamp, which we've currently called Project Moonshine. That's just sort of our temporary name for it. I don't know if it'll actually stay, but we really like the idea of saying we're working on Moonshine.
I like that. That's funny.
So that's sort of our main focus right now, is sort of coming back from the contracts that we do. And I mean, there'll be sidebars where we get pulled into to help assist in other teams type thing, but our main focus is sort of getting our game going, and we've got prototypes and stuff now, and it's just a matter of designing some levels and making some art for it.
So in this process of designing the levels, making the art and everything like that, what do you feel is actually the hardest portion to create the final product that you are a part of?
I guess there's two ways that I could go with that. One would be running a business. That has probably been the biggest issue that I've had, is the fact that I don't come from a business background. I come from a design and creative background. And so it's a matter of making sure that the company is functioning the way that it's supposed to while you're working on a project. In terms of the actual design part of it, I think a lot of developers have a hard time with scope. So making sure that all of the things that you have in mind are going to be able to fit within the time constraints or the financial constraints or anything like that. Because as you guys mentioned, right, like you guys want to be those idea people and you have big ideas and you want to see them come into play, but it's a matter of understanding the resources that you have and being able to make decisions and make cuts even when it's hard, when it's a really, really good idea and you think it really should be in play, that sometimes they just don't make the cut, and having to make those decisions. And I mean, everyone will get their feelings hurt at one point or another because they think that their idea is the best, but it's that compromise and understanding that it's for the betterment of the project. Yeah, I think that would probably be the hardest thing. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to teach my students. I'm teaching a lab on how to use Unity, and they've had to create their own games this semester, and all of them have big ideas, and they're like, oh, we want to add all of this stuff in. And I'm like, guys, it's a prototype. Just cut everything down, get the bare bones in there, and then if you have time, add all of those extra things to just make sure that you have something that's working. And I think that's the hard part for especially design people, is they want all of their ideas and they have these great things, but actually getting them into play is a different story.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard to be diplomatic and being able to make sure you have a coherent product with everybody having an even say and being able to appease the masses. But when it comes down to it, one idea might just not fit, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we've come into that every project that I've worked on, even with my own stuff. Like, it's just one of those things that you really have to look critically at it. And our big thing is the fact that we love doing postmortems and being able to sort of analyze sort of what's happened and figure out, all right, next time this is what we're going to do better, or understanding even halfway through a project that we're like, you know what, we're not going to make our deadlines, so we need to rethink things.
Yeah. So when you are looking at the game industry as a whole right now, and you're in your company looking out and you're seeing things and how it's progressing and how it operates, what would be one thing that you could change and why?
I mean, this is something that I've always struggled with sort of from the beginning when I actually started understanding the gaming industry a little bit more, is it is very similar in terms of employment to, or it should be, I guess, to the film industry. People get hired for a specific project, whether they know it or not. They work their time. When the project's complete, they end up being let go. And the amount of media presence when it comes to people being let go from a company, especially huge numbers of it, it always makes the gaming industry look very, very unsettling and unstable. And it's a shame because that's the way that any creative industry is the fact that you're hired for a purpose, and then when they can't afford to continue on because they don't have work for you, then you're going to be let go. And I think possibly changing it from like full-time employment to being contract workers, I mean, it has pros and cons to it, but in terms of the media, they always make a big deal when like a big company ends up letting go a bunch of their staff, and it's like, no, it's just because they finished their project. Like, they'll hire a bunch of them back on when they have their next project, but right now they don't need them. So I mean, that's it. It's a slightly different when it comes to the indies, because a lot of times the indies end up collaborating with each other, or they end up putting a project on hold, or they end up, like, even ourselves, we put our project on hold to be able to help another studio out. And I find the indie scene tends to be a little bit more closer knit and willing to help each other. Where I find a lot of, like, sort of the AAA studios end up swallowing up sort of indie teams whenever they come in to sort of assist them on things.
They just staff up to bulk out what they got to do, and then once the product is released and troubleshot, then they let go.
Yeah, and I mean, the film industry is sort of similar, but everyone knows they're hired for a specific project. And the gaming industry, I don't know if it's just because sometimes it takes multiple years to be able to get a game out, and there's lots and lots of people that work on a game, and they might only work on it for a few months, but their name's still in the credits. And it's just I don't know, I find it a shame that that's the type of media that they end up getting, is when companies end up making big cuts. And it's not because the company's not doing well, it's just they probably don't have a current project that they need all of that staff for.
So one more question before I turn it over to the other two to see if you're ready for that. But
I don't know.
So in your journey in game developing and being where you are now, having the company, and just, it seems to be like you, and I don't know exactly how old you are, and I'm not going to ask because that's not proper, but as a young person, you've seemed to have been able to accomplish a lot so far. You've learned things along the way. You're running your own business. You're already seeing the struggles of actually, doing the business aspect side of things, where you want to just be the developer, you want to be the designer, and now you have to be thrust into this other side of the business, and you're learning all these things. Did you envision yourself being at this point 3-4 years ago?
Yes and no. I mean, it's always been a dream, basically, since I started getting more into game development, to sort of have my own studio. And I remember an HR person coming in and sort of talking to us about, like, everyone's career paths and what they wanted to see. And there was only 2 out of the whole group of us that actually wanted to have their own company and was willing to not take a AAA studio game position to be able to start that. And so it doesn't overly surprise me. Leadership has been ingrained in me since I was very little. So it doesn't surprise me that I am the president of the company, and that I've sort of a driving force to get the company off the ground. Did I imagine that I would be doing 4 jobs at once right now? Probably not. But I mean, I'm pretty sure I get that from my dad. My dad's always been one to have multiple jobs, even side projects that he's working on. So I sort of told myself, if in 5 years when I graduated, if I hadn't sort of made it into the industry, or at least got my foot in the door, then I'd go back to school for special effects makeup. So I guess instead of going back to school, I just do that as a part-time job as well. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think some people are surprised that that's the choice that I ended up making. And I mean, I question that every time things sort of get tough. Is this really something that I want to be doing? I mean, it's probably a lot easier to sit at a desk or a cubicle in a bigger studio and just put my head down and work. But it's something that it's challenging, and there's constantly new things that are coming up, and I have a say in what I end up doing, which is sort of the nice part. And that's the reason why the four of us get along so well, is because we're all really passionate about it. And so we want to be able to do our own stuff and not be sort of told what to do. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I do want to congratulate you on obviously forming your studio and being able to get to this point and being the president of your own company. I mean, that's something that I will probably never be able to say. Well, I guess I kind of founded something, but that doesn't count. So, but it's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to get there. But now I gotta hand it over to Mo for a second. So Mo, do you have a question for the nice lady?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Professional. Are you going to steal my sweet idea of zombie football death face taco cat ball?
I don't know if I can give you a direct answer in case something similar is produced by my company.
Mm-hmm. It all comes out now. This is a ruse. You're trying to get my sweet professional ideas.
I'll just say perhaps.
That's a great song by Cake.
Zombie football death face taco cat ball is a song by
perhaps.
Cake. Oh.
Perhaps. Do. And then the horns play. Sorry, my bad.
Are you done, Mo?
Yes, I asked my very hard-hitting question that the fans really wanted.
Nice. How about you, dear Kevin?
I mean, I asked my questions earlier about Little Miss Aligned, which I was very intrigued by in the first place. I guess the only other thing I want to ask then, so considering you've been tolerating us for this long, Jess, is in the future, as your story continues to grow as, a developer and a new company and, work on your project, are you willing to come back and allow us to help you, if you will, document this process of an up-and-coming company?
Yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with you guys, whether it was for Extra Life or for this. I love listening to you guys online as well. So, I mean, getting to be a part of it is pretty cool. And I mean, free ad space basically to be able to promote my company. How can I say no?
Absolutely. It's the only reason I ask is because your story, and you're talking about, a couple of years ago, you imagine yourself doing this, but you didn't at the same time. Like it was the dream, but you didn't know if it was going to happen. This project, for most of us here on the recording this week and otherwise, we kind of all had the same thing going back a year ago. We wouldn't think we'd be where we are currently and working with the different indie companies, and there's other things coming down the pipeline for us as well that we can't talk about quite yet. But the similarities are there, and I just find the whole story of it intriguing to watch something from its infancy kind of to grow in with a lot of hard work and effort and kind of the creativity behind it. So I can appreciate the story, which is why I asked. So yeah, we pleasure having you on. So we want to continue that, and yeah, it's I mean, we're fans of it as an art and a hobby. So by all means, we want to understand the process all throughout. So.
Mm-hmm. So where can the listeners find you and see what you are up to and all that good stuff?
I guess if you want to follow the company, SpinByte Studios on Facebook is probably where we're most active, or our website, which I think is spinbytestudios.com. Myself personally, probably Twitter or adding me as a friend on Facebook if you can find me. But then also jessbradshaw.ca or jessbradshaw.com will also get you to some type of contact information to me. So any of sort of the, I guess, game developer wannabes, if they ever have questions, they're more than welcome to shoot me some messages, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them or at least send them to another person that might be able to help them out as well.
That's very cool. And I have one last question that I meant to ask earlier, but I didn't, and I forgot. How did you come up with the name SpinByte?
Oh, gosh. That is a very good question. We spent hours and hours trying to figure out a title. I mean, that is one of the benefits and downsides to having a group of four of us, is the fact that for the most part we need to agree on something. Because none of us want to be sort of that dictator and say, hey, this is the way that it's going to be. Sometimes that's necessary. But we came up with a bunch of them. And I mean, we are horrible with naming projects. Other than I really like the title My Nuts because I feel like everyone laughs whenever I say it.
Moonshine, that was pretty good.
Yes, Moonshine as well. But I mean, those were all working titles, and they ended up becoming something. For SpinByte, we ended up having a huge doc, and we were trying to look up something, I guess something to do with putting a new spin on something old, because that is what our company is sort of founded on. We like being able to take things that people are familiar with and then changing them slightly to make them new. So even My Nuts was sort of the classic launching game, but we did it from a third-person perspective, so you're actually over the shoulder of the squirrel flying. So like we like doing things that are comfortable to people, but giving them something new at the same time. And then Bytes was more of the fact that we wanted some type of indication that we were computer technology, I guess, related. So that's the reason why we spelt it with a Y instead of just biting things. But yeah, no, it was a much longer process than we were hoping for, but it ended up sort of, the name got thrown up and we sort of missed by it, and then we were going through eliminating things, and we were like, oh my gosh, like all of us sort of were like, this is awesome, why didn't we pick this from like when it originally was posted? So
naming things perfectly is just hard. You know, you try to do things and put meaning into something and make it something a little bit clever, but that reflects your personality, but that just, it's a process that you don't think is going to take as much time as it actually does.
Yeah, especially when you have 3 designers and then 1 programmer. And it was actually our programmer who was the one that came up with the name, but the designers were all like, oh, what about this? What about this? And like, realistically, we just need to listen to Mike all the time because he has the best ideas. He's just the quietest of all of us.
The
Mike,
quiet ones, the quiet ones usually are the ones that you want to listen to, because when they don't speak a lot, when they do say something, it's meaningful.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of speaking of not speaking a lot, but when they do, it's meaningful. Kevin, it's back to you, good boy.
Oh wait, no, I think Mo had something to say. Go ahead, Mo.
I already said it. I don't think I have anything else.
I think they talked over you. I didn't hear it. What'd you say?
I was saying I'm Mike, but it was a joke because I obviously am not the quiet one.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I might be hitting up you guys for some voice acting in the near future.
Yeah!
Whoa, hey now.
I'm professional, and I'm not going to celebrate right now.
Scotch.
But yeah, we are looking for some voice actors for our game. So I mean, I might be sending my co-founders to listen to you guys to see if you guys would fit any of our characters we currently have. So
Co-founders, though I sound stupid and very immature, I am both those things.
Well, Mo, don't typecast yourself now. Maybe there is a character.
I mean, I'm mature and grown up. I'm
an adult.
Money on Call of Duty.
Oh, well, we've waxed on for more than long enough, I think, and Jess has been kind enough to tolerate it for more than long enough, I think, as well. So it's time to kind of wrap up the show. And since Jess kind of plugged everywhere you can connect with her, I think it's time to talk a little bit about how you guys can connect with us at home. So actually, I'm going to throw it right back to Nathan first. So sorry.
Hi, listener. How are you? Haven't talked to you in a while. So you can find me obviously on Twitter at voiced by Nathan. Wink, wink. Haha. And you can also find my other podcast. That's entertaining. We are actually, so this is going to post a little bit later, but peek behind the curtain. We will be releasing our 100th episode of That's Entertaining shortly before this releases, I believe. It's been a long journey, so it'll be an interesting little retrospective look, hopefully. I can grab a couple of the previous cast members and bring them by. And, Mo, I don't know if you're on the list.
Oh.
Awkward.
But we'll see.
200, here I come.
That's right. When we do the League of Entertaining Gentlemen 100, you're definitely going to have to be there.
Yes, because I'm 1/1000th of that group. Wait, third. I'm a third of that group.
Math is not Mo's strong point.
That is true. So, yeah, we'll be doing episode 100 of That's Entertaining soon. That's pretty cool that we're up to that number. We're syndicated, so that's what that means when you get to 100 episodes on TV, at least. So you can find me again on Twitter, voiced by Nathan. You can find That's Entertaining on Twitter at EntertainingPod. You can find all kinds of cool stuff over at that'sentertaining.net. And I'm on Xbox because this is a video game podcast, and PlayStation at Spider Jedi.
Sweet. Coach Mo, where can people link up with you, sir, if they want to experience maturity and professionalism in the
At
highest?
its finest and awesome voice acting skills. Hello, I am Coach. They can find me at Coach Hulk on Twitter. On Facebook, I'm just Coach Mahoney or Mahoney or something like that. Xbox, it's Coach Mahoney. I don't do any other social medias because they all scare me. Like, they frighten me so much. I don't want to be Snapchatted ever. And I don't even know what Instagram really is. I am good at Vines, though, because I'm really awesome for like 6 seconds. And then I lose it.
Mo, they got rid of Vine.
Did they? Oh, poor Vine. I miss you, buddy. Stay strong. Other than that, I'm not working on anything because I just got done coaching football, and it drains everything out of me. So I spent the entire week just doing stuff for Lace and being, a husband and watching her play stupid Nintendo games I don't understand. And starting this weekend, I will be jumping back into playing games and trying to write more and trying to be more involved on PSVG, and hopefully Donnie doesn't fire me. He literally probably has every right to, because I didn't do my last 3 articles. 4? Donnie, please don't fire me. I love you guys, and I'm valuable. That's all I got.
Well, technically, in order to fire you, that would mean you'd have to have some sort of job, and I think job by definition means you get paid.
You guys aren't getting paid? Me neither.
Awkward again. But yeah. So you can find us, as always, playsomevideogames.com. You can email us, once again, podcast@playsomevideogames.com. Twitter @PSVG. You can find us facebook.com/playsomevideogames. We have our own YouTube channel now because enough of you have subscribed and watch our weird videos for some reason. So you can find it at youtube.com/playsomevideogames. We once again appreciate you all for listening. I'd like to thank Jess for tolerating us once again. We appreciate it, and sharing her story and what a little sneak preview is what's to come as well. So thank you for all of that, and thank you for everybody listening at home. And much like Jess, dream big, shoot for the stars. Someday you can be on a D-rated podcast that a couple people listen to sometimes. But more importantly, above all that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, never stop gaming.
Thank you for listening to Play Some Video Games, the official podcast.
At the current rate,
If Nate's still
a
recording,
nickel-
I quit.
a nickel down there is equal to 68 cents up here.
What?
So hold on. If I
Oh, I did that wrong.
Up
I
there,
totally-
then I'm
I
a millionaire.
totally-
Nope. You already said it. You have to hold it live.
Mo's buying a house in Canada.
I lied. 7 cents. 7 cents.
Nope.
Zero it.
You already said it. I get 68 cents, and they have to hold it because Canada doesn't lie.